Hi, it's Celeste, your canary in the coal mine. Today I wanted to talk about veganism and vegetarianism. What's the difference? So, even the vegetarians themselves have made it confusing to other people by the casualness with which they apply the rules. So, a vegetarian is someone who's not eating any flesh of any animal or fish. In other words, they're not eating beef, pork, lamb, any of the poultry, chickens, turkey, and any of the fish. So their diet consists of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, those are beans, and they do include eggs, and they do include dairy products, which would include cheese too. That's what a vegetarian eats. In other words, they eat no animal flesh products, but they will eat the output of animals in addition to all the vegetables and fruit. Now, a vegan is somebody who doesn't eat any of the flesh products of animals and doesn't eat any dairy and doesn't eat any eggs. In other words, they don't eat anything, any part of an animal or anything that comes from an animal. Their diet consists of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, grains. So that's the difference. Now, what makes it very, very confusing is that you'll see a lot of vegetarians who are abstaining from red meat, but they still eat chicken and fish. Or they're abstaining from red meat and they're abstaining from poultry, but they're still eating fish. And actually, they shouldn't call themselves vegetarians, but they do, and that's why it's so confusing. But a vegan is somebody who doesn't eat anything related to animals. All right, now that I've sorted that out in your mind, I hope, let me talk a little bit further about healthy versus unhealthy. Now, you could be a vegetarian, for example, and you could have a totally unhealthy diet. You could stuff your face with donuts and coffee and cakes and pies and lots of say pasta products with oil and I mean, you could eat a really high carb, a lot of sugar. All those are vegetable products, so those are all allowed, but that wouldn't be a healthy diet. A healthy diet would be eating a lot of salads and fruit and whole grain products, not flour products, and so I've especially noticed among young people that they call themselves vegetarians because they have a moral stance on not eating animals or their products, but then they really eat trash food. I mean, you could go into a quickie mart associated with a gas station and chow down and still call yourself vegetarian, but you wouldn't be eating healthy things. So I hope that that's clarified it a little bit for you. For me, I've been pretty primarily a vegan for about 7 years now, and there was a period of time where I was wondering whether I was getting enough B12 and I wasn't seeming to absorb it from supplements, so I started adding back in a little bit of animal protein, like I'd have a couple ounces of salmon on a salad or maybe a can of sardines or something like that. And at that point, you could no longer really truthfully call me a vegan. But, you know, now I'm kind of back on the straight and narrow and I'm not doing those things anymore. So now I'm back to eating fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, and grains with no eggs and no dairy products. Dairy products in particular, I've got a problem digesting them, and they give me various health conditions that I'd prefer not to experience, so I don't eat that. Occasionally I will eat something that used an egg as a binder, but frankly, if you're cooking for yourself, there's ways to create food products that don't have to use an egg for a binder. But when I eat outside of the home, sometimes I almost can't help it. But I'd say I'm like 90 to 95% on the straight and narrow. And really, as much as I'd like to be 100%, 90 to 95% is probably all any of us can really expect from ourselves, with the exception of somebody who has something like celiac, that if they don't stay 100% off wheat, they're going to have a severe reaction that might hospitalize them. Whereas in my case, I stay off wheat, but it's not going to give me that strong of a reaction. I'm going to get some reaction, but it's not going to put me in the hospital. So that, I hope that clarified it a little bit for you, because it's a very confusing subject. But what I'm really excited about is you can actually find a lot of good vegan recipes and vegan cookbooks online and at your libraries. And why I'm excited about that is, consider the possibility that you could find recipes that you truly enjoy that were built around being a vegan, so that you're eliminating some of the big allergens like wheat and dairy and eggs. Actually, a vegan cookbook wouldn't necessarily eliminate wheat, but you can find gluten-free vegan cookbooks, and that would eliminate wheat, and still end up with some really tasty recipes. And then if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of animal protein in. You could you know, the USDA, what used to be the food pyramid is now the plate. And really 1/4 of your plate is only, that's as big of the amount of animal protein as you should even have in your diet. So if you like got a gluten-free vegan cookbook, and then you just added a little bit of meat to the meal, that would be a really good way to get a lot more vegetables into your diet, a lot more plant products into your diet, and instead of having the cooking from a normal cookbook, which emphasizes the animal protein. The recipes are even classified under beef, chicken, fish, and so I'm just like nudging you in the direction of get more plants into your diet and less animal products. So that's my health tip for today, and I hope that really helps you understand better. And as usual, I'd like you to get well and stay well. Thank you.